name, your personal details, your address. We also have. So you first do your registration by entering your email ID, mobile number, name, and all those details. Once the registration process is done, you basically get to log in into the platform. Right. Just a second. Once you log in, you'll basically be able to, first step is to finish the KYC. So in order for you to become an investor on the platform, you have to finish a simple KYC process of uploading your KYC documents, which is address proof and PAN card. The verification typically takes around 24 hours. Post the verification is done, you can go ahead, add funds to your wallet. So what we do is from our side, as soon as the KYC verification is done, we create a wallet that is unique to each user. Right. So once the wallet is created, you can go ahead and add funds. Once you do that, you basically get to see all the assets or projects that are there that are live right now on the platform. So as I mentioned to you, we basically have two kinds of asset classes. One is solar power projects and the other one is electric vehicles. In case of solar power project, how the investment basically works is we work with a PPA model, wherein we have an SPV that is created, which in our case is a limited liability partnership that is created for each of the projects that you see on the platform. So if you see Shindinjin project here, that has an SPV of its own, and Times of India project has an SPV of its own. So what basically happens is the SPV signs a power purchase agreement with the client. So in this case, it's either Times of India or Shindinjin, saying that we will supply power to them for whatever is the tenure of the asset, which is typically around 20 to 25 years. And the client is going to pay us whatever is the fixed tariff that we agree upon. Now, for retail investors, what basically we do is whatever is the capex requirement of the project, we finance the whole thing to retail investors. So if you see for Shindinjin, it is basically a ground one project, and the total deal value is 5 crore 80 lakhs, and we finished around 5 crore 39 lakhs. So whatever is the capex requirement, we raise that through the retail investors. And month on month, depending on what the electricity is generated, the client, whoever it is, pays the SPV, the electricity bill, which is distributed down as returns or ROI to the retail investors. Now, in case of electric scooters, we work with a plain vanilla leasing model, wherein we sign a master lease agreement with the client. So we have financed scooters for bounce. So in fact, we actually launched the deal last 5th of June, and it got subscribed within half an hour. It was a total deal value of around 1.8 crores. Right now, in case of EVs, how it basically works is we work with the LLP model itself, wherein the LLP buys the scooters and leases it out to a client like Bounce. Now, Bounce pays us fixed monthly rentals for using these scooters for a tenure of whatever 3 or 4 years. So typically the life of EV assets is around 4 years. So for 4 years, Bounce pays us a fixed monthly rental for using these scooters. Now, in case of electric scooters, what we've done is we've gone with a fixed model rather than saying it's performance linked. So irrespective of whether the scooter is performing or not, Bounce is still going to pay me the fixed monthly rental, which is what happened. So as soon as we listed our first asset, there was a first lockdown that happened. Even during the lockdown, our investors still got our returns because that was the agreement that was signed. Right now, in terms of your investment, post you invest, right? As I mentioned to you that for each of these investment opportunities, we create an SPV or an LLP. When I, as an individual investor, invest into one of these projects, I basically become a partner into that LLP, right? And whatever amount I invest is considered as capital contribution that is made by me into that LLP. The capital contribution basically goes into the total project value. Now, whatever monthly returns come into the SPV are distributed as profits that are given to the partners. So which means whatever percentage of return you see here, the IRR, which is either 11% or 9%, this is post-tax because the tax is already being paid by the LLP. So at the hands of the investor, whatever returns is there, irrespective of the investor's tax bracket, it is tax-free. You don't have to pay any tax. Now, in terms of the money or the how the investment returns are structured, we work on a reverse EMI model, so to speak. So if let's say if it's a solar power project and the life of the asset is around 15 to 20 years, and I invest 1 lakh as an investor, month on month when I get my returns, I get a certain portion of the principal back as well. So it's like your car loan or home loan. wherein you're paying your home loan and you pay a certain portion of the principal back. So your principal repayment happens across the tenure of the asset rather than it being locked in for whatever is the time period of the asset. So if you see some of the deals that we have, you basically can click on Shinenjin deal. Once you click on the deal itself, you'll be able to see all the details that are there with respect to this deal. So internally for us, we want to make sure that none of our projects either default on a payment, or we want to make sure that the principal and at the same time the returns that we give to the investor are guaranteed. So what we've done from our side is we've come up with something called a PYSR score, which is something similar to your CIBIL score, which is given for each of these projects. The PYSR score typically ranges from 600 to 900. As it moves to 900, it means that the project is more safer, and lower it is on the scale, that means it's more riskier. So what we've done is we've come up with a credit a matrix that we've given for this. So we consider 4 factors into this. One is the performance risk, revenue risk, credit risk, and operational risk. So for each of these projects, a score is given for all of them, and we also give you a detailed report as to why we've arrived at the score that we've arrived at. So if you go into one of this PYSR verified fortune engine, and if you scroll down, you'd see that under performance risk, these are the checkpoints that we have. So what we do is we check if the suppliers have a proven track record. Are they using superior quality panels? If yes, then we give them a high score. Is there operating history of greater than 2 years? Is it an operational project? Or is there any snap points that are there in terms of the project? Basis each of these, we give them a score. So depending on the module specification, so if it's a JA, then it gets a better score. What we do in terms of revenue risk is to make sure that the investors' returns are safeguarded. So what we've done is on all the power purchase agreements that we've signed, we basically have a clause we typically take a bank guarantee of either 6 months or 12 months of receivables from the client, right? And this bank guarantee has to be topped up by the client as and when if there is a default made by the client. Now what this allows us to do is if there is a default, I can still encash the bank guarantee and pay my retail investors on time. And at the same time, I have a 6 month or 12-month runway to make sure that the client is not continuously defaulting on his payments. And we also have additional clauses that basically say if you pay late, then there is a interest charge that is there, which is around 1.5%. So we've also considered all of this into the this model itself. And the other thing that we take is usually we don't go with the 100% consumption of the asset itself, of the consumer itself, right? So if let's say there is a Tata Communications or DMart, if let's say their consumption, for example, is 100 units, just for an example's sake, we usually take or install the capacity of solar at a capacity of max of 70 to 80% of the consumption. So just so that there isn't a situation where we're generating excess and the client is not going to pay for it. Now, what we do from the other point that we consider is most of the time we also use the 100% of the generative power to be used by the off-taker. So irrespective of whether the client is consuming the power or not, at the end of the day, I take the initial meter reading, the final meter reading, whatever is the units that is generated, the client has to pay for that. Now, the other thing is most of the projects what we've taken till date, which constitutes the 28 crores of AUM, most of them are 100% equity. We don't have a debt component involved in it. So there is no first charge for the person lending the money, right? So the retail investors are the ones who are given the first charge. So that's the steps that we take in terms of revenue risk. Now, in terms of credit rating, what we do is we check if the client has a good credit history. Is he going to default in his payments? Depending on what his external and internal. So internally, we have a credit rating matrix that we've built to check if whether the client is going to default or not. So for every project, we also do a credit risk on the client itself. Operational risk is basically to make sure that once the asset goes into operations, everything is covered or there's enough cushion in it, right? Which basically means is there insurance, is there warranty on all the items, is there workmanship warranty? All of these warranties are also taken into consideration while giving the PYSR score. right? So whatever you see here is given for all the assets on the platform. So if let's say you go to our Times of India project, or if you go to some of our completed deals as well, you'll be able to see the score for all the projects that are there, including the verified metrics that we give for all of the projects. The idea for us is to make sure that the investors who come onto the platform diversify their risk, right? So sometimes probably the PYSR score is a little low, but at the same time the returns are a little higher. So it is, the option is given to our retail investors to make sure that they pick and choose and diversify their investment. Apart from that, you also get to see who the client is. You will get to see an investment rationale as to why we believe that this project or this investment is a good investment to go ahead with. All of these documents are available on the platform itself for the client to view at any point in time that he wants. So apart from this, what we also show is the basic details as to what the minimum investment amount is, what is the maximum investment amount, what is the total asset value, what is the asset life or the PPA tenure basically. So the other thing what we do is the projects that we onboard, right, typically have a life of 4 years if it's an EV, or they have a life of around 20 to 25 years if it's a solar power project. So if as a first time investor, when you're coming in, I can't expect you to stay locked in for the 20-25 year period. So what we do from our side is we give you a minimum guarantee or minimum lock-in period of 6 months. So at the end of 6 months, you can choose to say, okay, I'm happy with this investment opportunity. I'll continue as is for the life of the asset. Or you can say, I have a better product or I'd like to diversify. You can always withdraw your principal at the end of 6 months. And at the end of 6 months, you can choose to renew, like I said, but the renewal happens in multiples of 6 months. So let's say at the end of 6 months, I want to continue. I can do so in multiples of 6 months, which basically means either 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. And depending on whatever is your lock-in period, you'll keep getting your returns for that period of time. Apart from this, we also have the calculators to show you what will be your earnings depending on whether you're going to stay locked in for 6 months or 1 year or 3 years, right? So that basically is the platform. We have some referral schemes. You can manage funds. You can also go into your wallet and check what your wallet balance is. You can see all the transactions that are related to your wallet, right? Transactions with PYSR. So that's basically the platform in terms of retail investor side. The idea is for us, we wanted to keep the investment process as smooth as possible and as transparent as possible, right? So in terms of doing the actual investment itself, once you add funds to your wallet, all you have to do is come here, enter the amount that you want to probably invest. So if let's say it's 5, select the lock-in period that you want to stay locked in and just click on invest now. If you have enough funds in your wallet, all you have to do is sign something called a consent letter, right? So when you're investing, you have to e-sign something called a consent letter, which basically states that I, as a retail investor, I'm willing to become a partner into the LLP, and I'm giving the designated partner, which is PYSR FinTech, the opportunity to or the responsibility to take care of the day-to-day operations. And as a partner, my only role there is to get the monthly returns on time. And I'm not liable to any legal or compliance related issues or day-to-day operations that take place. So yeah, that's pretty much the platform. I think if you guys have any questions basis the discussion we've had till now, then you can just go ahead and ask.
What are the most frequently asked questions of you, Vinay, from investor potential?
See, in terms of new investors coming in, their primary concern is in terms of the risk that is involved, or they want to basically know whether their principal is secure, right? Since it's a new startup, they always have that doubt whether your principal is secured and your returns are whether you're getting your returns on time. So that's one of the most frequently asked question. The second, they usually have a doubt on how the investment product actually works, because even though solar as an asset class has been there for the last 10-15 years, it has always been available to the HNIs, family fund offices, or NBFCs. It has never been brought down to retail investors as such. As a common investor, I never had an opportunity to go and invest in own fractions of a solar power project. So I never actually cared as to how the whole process works. So the other question that we usually get is in terms of how the whole process is working. And the third is usually how are the returns distributed? How does the whole investment structure happens? These are the typical three FAQs that we usually get.
So your big challenge is first getting projects. You showed us two of them, and executing the project with the most efficiency. Am I right? No.
Correct. Yes.
And of course, the next pain
Sorry?
is the correct. Am I right? I asked you. Yes.
No, see, as being a marketplace, I think it's essentially balancing the two of them, right? It should be a well-oiled machine, both in terms of your supply and demand. Because if I start getting in more projects and I don't have retail investors to get it subscribed, then that's a problem. Or if I have in a lot of retail investors and I'm not getting projects in time, then the retail investors will get frustrated, saying, "Hey,
Correct.
there's no
Of course.
opportunity."
So how is
for
the
us, I
demand
think
generated?
the
I got
idea is
that.
to balance.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
No, but how is the demand generated for you? How do you do that? Someone else does that for you, or you have people who come to you?
So in terms of the demand,
Demand
how
meaning
how
for
it will
projects.
work is ever since it's not, for projects you're talking in terms of the retail investors coming in, right?
No. The demand for projects in the sense of like the Times of India fellow coming, or any other project like that coming. Is that generated by
So
somebody else,
what
or
we've
people
done
come
is
to you?
we've tied up with. So what we've done is, at least till now, we've tied up with a few EPC players that we know of. So there's a company called Dexler Energy that is a part of the same incubator as we are. So our startup is basically funded by an incubator called M by X Square, which is run by Anand Nagarajan and Himlata Srinivasan, who are also founders in a company called Dexler Energy. So Dexler Energy has been in the solar and renewable energy space for almost 8 years. And for the initial few projects that we've got, they were the ones who sourced in the projects. Post that, we've tied up with a few more EPC players like Enapar, who are giving us projects. Now, in fact, we have a plan internally to go out and reach out to all the small-time developers, if not your big four like your Adani or all that. We're planning on reaching out to all the smaller developers to get in their projects as well. But until today, both in terms of the supply and demand, the traction for us has been organic. We haven't actually gone out and marketed it or spent money on marketing to get in people, both in terms of investors and the projects.
And you said your project value is some 28 crore or something, and 4,000 investors so far as a base.
The total, yes.
Right. See, if you have to do 10% to your, or 9.75% to your investor, that means you, with your admin costs, etc., you should be doing about at least 15-16%, correct? See, for example, when you say rental income from your,
that we take on board.
I mean, I'm saying the standard challenge of financing, like when you say rental and UVs, right? So obviously, when you are committed to paying per month, that means at a higher level, it is not even 10%. It will be probably something like, say, 12%, plus your admin cost. So you have to reach an IRR of 17-18%, correct? Minimum.
Correct. Yes.
Are you able to achieve that?
Yeah, so so the projects that we financed till date, if you see in terms of EV, I think there are many other players who've popped up in terms of competition as well. At this point, EV as a product is commoditized, right? There isn't any innovation, or there isn't any hassle behind it. Tomorrow, I can go to an EV charging guy or a EV scooter, and just the only thing that we would be negotiating on is pricing, right? And most of the players that typically exist in the market today operate with similar IRRs, which are around 17 to 18%. So EV is not that big an issue. In case of solar, we are actually getting in projects. So which is why we, on the site also, we've mentioned that most of our projects that we take, only 1 to 2% of the projects get shortlisted, because we need to make sure that we're giving them good enough returns. See, when I say it's around 9 to 12%, it's good enough for a retail investor to come in and try out a product, because even today, majority of the Indian investors come in with a mindset of saying FD is the most safest investment opportunity, right? And the idea for us is to move that needle up and saying, diversify your portfolio to move your investments from an FD to a solar power project, which is better returns and at the same time, which is a safe investment opportunity.
Okay, I have some more drilled down, but for want of time and others must have questions. Let me stop now, but I will have another chat with you sometime. It was Krishna who, I mean, Yuvi and I are friends for a long time, and he's been very enthusiastic. So I'll come back to you. See, I can even, I mean, I was telling UVK that, if it's interesting, then I can have some other kind of people who might want to invest, etc. I'll help you or whatever. We'll see. Yeah. Over to the others, whatever questions you have. And Sindhu, I have made you a co-host so that, in case something happens to my line, you will always be the host by default. Yes. Yeah.
Hi, Vinay. Sindhu here. We'll do the introductions first from where we come. Vinay, we are an energy efficiency company in the business of providing services. We provide energy audits and renewable energy for a period of 2 decades now. So we've been in the industry for quite a long time, and we've done more than 2,000 megawatt renewable energy projects consultation, and we've helped the clients implement those. We also do renewables, like we put up solar, wind projects too. We are also into climate change services and water management, which we've started recently. We do these services. So when you were talking about the kind of investments that you look into, the green investments, which is the concept of PYSR, where do you see energy efficiency projects fitting in? For example, the ESCOs. See, when I say green, then I think energy savings come first. So I wanted to understand what is your lookout on energy efficiency projects like the ESCOs, where we go, we audit, we provide the energy saving measures, and we invest in those measures for the client to really bring those savings, what we meant on the paper.
Correct. No, in fact, we actually were looking out. See, the idea for us is to diversify into as many asset classes as possible. As I mentioned to you today, we are dealing with solar and EV. Because one, solar, we've had internal experience or expertise for the last 8 years, as I mentioned, right? Now, apart from this, we are also looking at other energy efficiency systems like your HVAC systems. We are actually in conversations with a few players. There's Smart Joules. I'm sure you're aware of them, right? So we are actually in conversations with Smart Joules as well to list some of their energy and efficiency systems on the platform itself. The thing from our side is it's a new asset class for us. The only thing is right now we are trying to do a due diligence on the asset class and see in terms of how we can position this as an investment opportunity to the investors itself. And in terms of the structuring, how does the whole structuring work in terms of the finances. But as an asset class, yes, we are looking at energy efficiency systems and other asset classes that are involving clean and green and carbon offsetting as such.
Correct, because we are looking at this meeting at a point where how we can associate with PYSR.
Okay.
So, because we bring in ESCO projects, we are into renewable energy projects, we set up the projects and all. So we were looking how we could associate with PYSR and see until unless we understand what is your lookout.
Vinay, this is Mohan Reddy.
Yeah, hi Mohan.
Yeah. Now tell me, as far as your investment in greens is concerned, so far you have invested only in solar or any other renewable energy? Other than your
as of today, it's only, like I mentioned, 2 asset classes: solar power projects and EVs. We're looking at newer asset classes like your organic farming and HVAC systems as of now, but none of them have actually gone into operations, or we haven't raised funding for it as such till date. But we are looking out for them.
In our experience, what we found, is that the return from these energy efficiency projects, if you find that, they're much higher compared to even the solar, because solar, you have a lot of issues like the capital cost is changing frequently, the tariffs are changing frequently. But that kind of thing will not be here because your payback is less than 3 years, less than 2.5 years, 2 years also. Maybe it's one class thing you should look into seriously.
Yeah. No, we are. So if you're willing to actually collaborate on energy efficiency systems, then I think we can look at that one as a pilot project and take it forward. Primarily because we've, like I mentioned, we've already started doing analysis on the asset class. So on that, I think we can take the conversation forward. Not an issue.
Limit on the investment size, investment wise, and
Sorry, your voice broke up there a little.
you have any limit on the investment size?
So we actually typically do investments from somewhere around 40 lakhs per SPV, which is per LLP, to the highest we've had is around 5.8 crores.
Okay.
The issue with or the limit that we have from our side as of now is, since we are operating with an LLP structure, I can't have more than 200 partners in an LLP. So
Okay.
the typical asset value that we're looking at per each LLP would be a max of around 3 to 4 crores.
Okay.
But we would also see if in case of Bounce, what happened is he had around 200, or they had around 200 scooters that they needed finance.
Right.
What we did was we created 2 SPVs or 2 LLPs and broke it up so that we can get more retail investors. If that can be possible in energy efficiency systems, then, and if the asset value is big, we can probably break it up across some 2 to 3 LLPs and raise it. But typically in each LLP, the limit that we're looking at as on date is somewhere around 3 to 4 crores.
Okay. The asset is acquired directly by the LLP, or you acquire it and then LLP takes it over?
No, the asset is owned by the LLP itself.
Okay, directly.
Directly.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. And since the asset is owned by the LLP and the PYSR is managing it, what kind of return are you, profit are you seeing at your end?
You mean at PYSR's end?
Yes.
So at PYSR's end, the revenue model, or the basically the revenue model for us is we have it in terms of both retail investors and the project listing itself. So from the retail investors, we charge them a 1% fee upfront when they're investing. So if you're investing 1 lakh, they basically add in 1 lakh 1,000 to the wallet, 1,000 comes to PYSR, and 1 lakh goes into the asset. And in terms of the asset, we usually charge an asset management fee of around 2%.
Okay. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, Vinay. And
Yeah.
what kind of the legal documentation that you have with your project owners? Have you faced any kind of issues, legal strength? Because legality is also very important in such cases. So anything that you faced with the project owners?
With the project owners, see, we typically don't have any disputes or legality. So we've tied up with a firm here called Tatva. They're the ones who are taking care of the agreements for us. And in terms of the agreements with the asset owners, we have an EPC agreement if it's a greenfield project. And if it's a brownfield project, we basically have a business transfer agreement that is there. That is a generic agreement which has all the clauses mentioned. But we haven't faced any legal issue in terms of the documentation as of today.
Okay. And the return that you were talking about, Vinay, that 9 to 12%, is it a fixed return that you would give the investors over a period of time, or it has an increment based on?
No, it doesn't have an increment. The IRRs that we promise to the investors are fixed throughout the life of the asset. What we do in case of solar is we levelize the returns. So obviously, so in case of solar, month on month, the returns that we get is not going to be the same. Or even if you take towards the end of the asset, the returns are going to dip because of the asset itself, right? The degradation. So what we've done from our side is we've levelized the returns to make sure that irrespective of at what point you come into the asset, be it the first year or the 10th year or the 15th year, the IRR that is promised to you or you see on the site is going to remain fixed throughout the life of the asset.
Okay.
Yeah. So the 9% is going to stay 9% till the 20th year or the 25th year.
Okay. Krishna sir,
Hello.
Yeah. Vinay, I'm just looking for Mr. UVK Rao.
I think he's on mute. So you're on mute.
Okay. And Hari sir. In Vinay, as far as the renewable energy is concerned, you said solar is the asset class which you have been looking, at the moment. What about the hydros, wind, and bio CNG? These kind of projects, Vinay, you have not seen those things, no, at the moment.
So typically the reason why we haven't, we are in fact looking out for opportunities in hydro and wind as well. The problem with wind is each of those units cost somewhere around 8 to 9 crores. And as I mentioned to you, it is a challenge for us as of late. But we are soon planning on changing the structure itself. We're trying to move from the LLPs into a much regulated structure. I think in that we should be able to get in more projects as well.
Okay.
But that is something we are looking at.
That's good. That's good. And when you go for a lease, you have a tenure for that, maybe 3 years.
Yes, 4 years. So
5 years
typically, in case of scooters, it is 4 years.
Okay, it's a solar something like that.
In case of solar, it's not a lease. As I mentioned to you, there's a PPA that is signed, and whatever is the tenure of the PPA is the life of the asset, be 10, 15, 20, 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the one question I want to ask, you were talking about carbon emissions or carbon offsets, Vinay. Anything that you could elaborate on? What are you looking at carbon offsets that you spoke?
So typically, see, the idea for us is solar itself, or be it EV or your energy efficiency systems. All of these are carbon offsetting products. Even though the idea for us is to tap into the carbon credits market, right? Wherein the credits that are generated by the asset can be probably used to give those credits to either to retail investors, or probably we're looking at a monetary aspect to the carbon credits itself. Even though in India it's not that big of the thing right now, people are still trying to learn what carbon credits are. We're looking to see if we can tie up with MNCs who would be willing to buy or look into buying these carbon credits that are generated by the projects. We are actually in conversations with NKing to get our projects audited and to see if we can get carbon credits generated for those assets.
Actually, Vinay.
Yeah, our company is called Zenith Energy, Vinay, and we've been in the carbon market industry for, we were basically the first entrant into the carbon market industry way in 90s, the late 90s.
No, actually the carbon business started in 2005 in India after the Kyoto Protocol is validated, and about 8,000 projects are registered from the CDM side. We have done about 100 projects from India.
Oh, great. So you guys do the carbon audit?
Yeah. We actually subsequently in 2012, the market has fallen drastically down. Now again, market is picking up so badly because of the net zero and all those.
Exactly. Yes.
Everybody is looking for these kind of carbon credits. But what is happening is that you need to get your project registered under some mechanism. Now, because renewable energy is not acceptable to VCS or gold standard. CDM is in transition to Paris Agreement. So you have something called Global Carbon Council that is based in Doha. That's also valid now, but it is only there up to 7th July 2022. That is next month. The deadline is expiring unless they extend it for another 6 months.
Okay.
In order for you to trade these things, you should get them registered on some mechanism.
Correct. Yes.
The current
which is where I mentioned that we are in talks with NKing itself to see how we can get this registered.
Right.
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to pull in all the solar projects we have and pull one audit for them.
Right. Okay, good.
Yeah. So that's another conversation we're actually having.
Right.
Okay. Okay, I think we've had a good conversation. So once you talk to Kaustubh, yourself, you think about Zenith Energy Services. If you're interested, then we could send you our profile, look into the kind of projects what we've done over the number of our experiences and all, and then we can have a word if you're interested.
Sure. I think, yeah, if you can just send me a product note or whatever you've mentioned right now, a deck of sorts. I think we can reconnect probably tomorrow or Monday, and we can see how we can take it forward. I'll loop in Kaustubh as well for the next meeting, and we're more than happy to see how we can take this forward.